In 1947, a machine rolled hay into a weatherproof cylinder that could sit in a field for months, and farmers thought it was a gimmick. It took the world 24 more years to realize it was the future. From a Nebraska stove fuel experiment to a German baler that never stopped rolling, these 10 round balers didn't just make hay. They saw where farming was going decades before anyone else, and most of them were forgotten. Let's count them down. Number 10. John Deere 410 Round Baler. The 1970s round baler boom wasn't just about inventing the machine. It was about convincing skeptical farmers that giant round balers were actually worth changing their entire operation for. John Deere entered that fight in 1976 with the 410 round baler, and it brought something the industry desperately needed: trust. By the mid-1970s, farmers had already seen machines from Vermeer, New Holland, Hesston, and a handful of other manufacturers. The concept worked, but many operators still wondered whether round balers were a passing trend. John Deere changed that almost overnight. When the world's largest farm equipment manufacturer committed to the technology, it signaled that the large round bale wasn't an experiment anymore. It was becoming the future of haymaking. The 410 used a variable chamber belt design that produced dense, well-shaped bales, while giving operators flexibility across different crop conditions. More importantly, it introduced thousands of loyal John Deere customers to large round baling without forcing them to switch brands. Farmers who had never considered buying a Vermeer or Hesston suddenly had a round baler available through their local Deere dealer, backed by a nationwide parts and service network. That may not sound revolutionary, but history often turns on distribution as much as invention. Plenty of companies create groundbreaking ideas. Only a few have the reach to make those ideas become the industry standard. The John Deere 410 helped accelerate the transition from small square bales to mechanized round baling across North America, pushing the technology into the mainstream far faster than smaller manufacturers could have managed alone. The 410 wasn't the first round baler. It wasn't the most radical either, but it arrived at exactly the right moment, bringing credibility, dealer support, and mass adoption to a technology that was still proving itself. Number 10 belongs to the machine that helped convince an entire generation of farmers that the future had finally arrived. Number 9. The Gehl Variable Chamber Round Baler. Some machines are forgotten because they failed. This one was forgotten because the company that built it simply stopped caring about hay. Gehl is one of the oldest names in American farm equipment. Its roots trace all the way back to an 1859 foundry in West Bend, Wisconsin, back when innovation meant a better plow. By the time the round baler revolution hit, Gehl was a serious hay and forage manufacturer, and it went a different direction than a lot of its rivals. While much of the early market was still tumbling hay with chains and bars, Gehl committed to the belt-driven variable chamber, a design where the baling chamber grows with the bale, letting the operator dial the finished size up or down and pack a proper core. That flexibility was the quiet genius of it. A Gehl could swallow a big, heavy windrow, handle hay a little damper than a rock-hard fixed-chamber machine would tolerate, and let one operator decide whether today's field wanted a 4-foot bale or a 6-foot one, all from the same machine. For a mixed operation that baled hay one week and straw the next, that adaptability was exactly where the whole industry was heading. Gehl was there early, and it built the machines tough enough that a lot of them are still out in fields today, decades later, quietly making bales. So why isn't Gehl a name people rattle off next to Vermeer and New Holland? Because Gehl read the room and left. As traditional dairy farms disappeared, the company discontinued its entire hay and forage line and poured everything into compact equipment, the skid loaders and telehandlers it's known for now. The balers didn't die because they were bad. They were orphaned because their maker moved on. Number 9 is the machine that did everything right and got left behind anyway. Proof that on this list being good was never enough to be remembered. Number 8. The Welger Fixed-Chamber Round Baler. While Americans were chasing the big round bale, a highly traditional German company from Wolfenbüttel was quietly engineering something that would end up inside a huge number of machines wearing other companies' paint. In 1972, Welger began developing a completely new type of press, a roll baler for large round bales built on the fixed chamber principle. According to the company's own history, This Welger system was later granted patents throughout the world, and Welger established its rights through numerous licensing agreements with well-known manufacturers across the globe. That last part is what earns Welger a spot here. It's one thing to build a good baler. It's another to engineer a design so sound that rival brands pay to use it. The Fixed-Chamber Round Baler, a chamber of set size that packs a dense, firm bale, became one of the two great design families that still divide the baler world today. Welger didn't just build a machine, it built a blueprint. For decades, Welger stayed a specialist's name. The kind of baler serious operators knew and casual buyers didn't. The company was eventually absorbed into the Dutch Lally Group in 1994. But the engineering that started in 1972 rippled outward far beyond its own factory. Number 8 is the quiet genius of the list, the design that shaped the machines you'd recognize, even if the name on the side wasn't Welger. Number 7. The New Holland 850, 1974. By today's standards, the New Holland 850 looks like an industrial relic. An imposing frame of chains and bars, almost naked, with barely any sheet metal covering the mechanism. It looks obsolete, and in a way it is, but that machine started a dynasty. The 850 was New Holland's first round baler, launched in 1974, and it marked the beginning of a run of round baler production that the company is still celebrating half a century later. It used a chain and bar system to tumble and roll the hay into a cylinder. Simple, rugged, and built for a market that was only just discovering it, wanted round balers at all. Now, was the 850 itself technologically ahead of its rivals? Not in raw mechanism. The truly forward-looking part of this story came later. In the late 1980s, New Holland began switching from chains to belts, which improved bale density and let operators move faster in the field. That shift toward belt-driven variable chamber baling is where New Holland became a genuine pioneer. The company has since built well over 200,000 variable chamber round balers, but none of that happens without the 850 planting the seed in 1974. It earns its place because it was the humble first step of a company that would go on to define an entire category. Some machines are ahead of their time because of what they are, others because of what they start. The 850 is the second kind. Number 6. The Hesston 5500. If the New Holland 850 was raw and mechanical, the Hesston 5500 represented the other road the industry was taking, the belt-type baler with a chamber that grew as the bale grew. Hesston literature for the 5500 was already circulating by 1976, putting this machine right in the thick of the round baler explosion. What made the 5500 quietly ahead of its time wasn't power or density, it was forgiveness. The 5500 was a simple, honest machine, easy to operate, easy to work on, with relatively cheap parts. Its bale tension came from springs, which meant it wouldn't crush hay into a rock-hard core. And here's the clever part. Because it didn't pack as aggressively as later machines, an operator could actually get away with baling hay at a higher moisture level than a modern ultra-tight baler would tolerate. For a lot of farmers, that trade-off was gold. A machine that made a decent, straight, well-shaped bale in almost any condition, that didn't demand perfect dry hay, and that a person could fix in the field without an engineering degree. That was exactly what a first-generation round baler buyer needed. The 5500 wasn't the heaviest built baler ever made, and it had its quirks. But it captured a philosophy that took the rest of the industry years to fully appreciate. Reliability and simplicity can matter more than brute density. Number 6 is the everyman's baler, ahead of its time precisely because it kept things simple. Number 5, the Claas Rollant 85. Now we cross fully into Europe, where the round baler evolved down a different path, and where Claas built a machine whose core idea is still in production today. In 1978, Claas launched the Rollant 85, a fixed-chamber baler. But instead of using slats and chains or rubber belts to form the bale, the Rollant's chamber was built from 21 driven, full-width steel rollers. As the hay came in, those rollers spun it into an incredibly consistent cylinder. That first machine produced a bale 1.8 meters in diameter and 1.5 meters wide, held together with sisal twine. a single 400-kilogram straw bale that was the equivalent of roughly 20 small conventional bales. The steel roller fixed-chamber concept became the dominant design for fixed-chamber balers and made the Rollant the market leader across Western Europe. And Claas didn't stop there. In 1983 came a milestone that deserves its own mention, the Rollertex net wrapping system. Until then, a finished bale needed to be wrapped around 20 times with twine. Claas claimed that just 1.5 to 2 layers of net would do the same job, cutting tying time roughly in half and producing bales that held their shape better and stacked more easily. Net wrap is now standard on round balers worldwide. Claas got there in the early 1980s. The Rollant 85 earns number 5 for combining a design so robust it's still used today with a wrapping breakthrough. The whole world eventually copied. Number 4. The Krone CombiPack. Here's a machine that answered a question most farmers didn't even know they were allowed to ask. What if the baler and the wrapper were the same machine? For years, making baled silage, that's wet, fermented forage sealed in plastic, was a two-step dance. One machine rolled the bale, then a completely separate wrapper sealed it in film. 2 machines, often 2 people, 2 passes, and a bale sitting exposed in between. In 1997, at the Giant Agritechnica show in Germany, Krone unveiled the world's first combined baler and wrapper, the CombiPack. It rolled the bale and wrapped it in plastic in one continuous integrated operation. This wasn't a bolt-on accessory. It was a genuine rethink of the workflow, folding 2 jobs into a single machine. The engineering was sophisticated, and it worked. By 2005, more than 3,000 CombiPacks were in use around the world. For livestock farmers in wet climates, think Ireland, the UK, Northern Europe, where getting hay bone dry is nearly impossible, the ability to bale and wrap silage in one shot was transformational. Krone was no stranger to round balers. The company had built its first back in 1977. But the CombiPack was something more, a machine that compressed an entire process into one pass. Today, combination baler wrappers are a whole product category. Krone got there first in the late 90s, and number 4 is the machine that saw the future of silage before the competition did. Number 3. The Claas Rollant Rapid 56. This is the machine that was so far ahead of its time that it actually failed, and that's exactly why it belongs so high on this list. Every round baler you've seen has one fundamental limitation. It has to stop. When the chamber is full, the tractor halts. The machine wraps the bale, the tailgate opens, the bale rolls out, the tailgate closes, and only then can you move again. Every single bale means an interruption. Engineers have chased the non-stop round baler, one that keeps rolling while it ejects, for decades. At Agritechnica in 1985, Claas unveiled exactly that, the Rollant Rapid 56, the world's first non-stop round baler. It was a genuine milestone, a machine attempting to solve the one problem baked into the concept from the very beginning. And here's the bittersweet part. Technically, the Rollant Rapid was well ahead of its time, but it struggled to gain traction in the market. It was more complex than the simple standard Rollant, sitting right next to it in the showroom, and it competed against larger fixed-chamber machines that made lighter bales. Then in 1988, Claas launched the powerful Quadrant 1200 Big Square Baler, which could produce a 50% denser bale in dry crops, and it pulled attention and sales away from the non-stop round baler. The Rollant Rapid 56 is the definition of this entire video. A machine that was right about where the industry needed to go, launched into a market that wasn't ready to follow. Non-stop baling is still a holy grail today. Claas reached for it in 1985. Number 3 is the beautiful failure. Number 2, the Allis-Chalmers Roto-Baler. We're down to the final 2, and it's time to go all the way back, because the machine at number 2 is the great-grandfather of everything on this list, and it was ahead of its time by more than 2 decades. The story starts around 1890 with the Lewibben family of Sutton, Nebraska. During brutal winters, they experimented with rolling straw into dense logs to burn for fuel. That led Lewibben to invent a machine that gathered material, rolled it into a large round bale, wrapped it, and ejected it. He patented it in 1910. The idea sat mostly dormant until 1940, when Allis-Chalmers acquired the rights. The company's engineers built 6 experimental machines in 1941, tested them across the Midwest, and refined the concept. Then, in 1947, they released it to the world, the Roto-Baler. This machine made a compact round bale that shed water like a thatched roof, could be left outside and still protect the hay inside, and crucially, could be run by a single person. Round, weatherproof, one-man bales. In 1947, that is the exact value proposition the entire industry would rediscover and celebrate in the 1970s. It sold too. Allis-Chalmers built around 3,000 in the first year, and within 3 years had moved 23,000 of them. By the time production wound down in 1960, more than 75,000 Roto-Balers had been sold. It wasn't perfect. Operators compared it to a temperamental sewing machine, and you had to stop to tie and eject every bale. But the core idea was pure future. The tragedy. The world wasn't ready. Small square bales dominated, and the Roto-Baler's small package never fully caught on in most regions. It faded, and the big round bale had to be invented all over again a generation later. Number 2 was right about everything, 24 years too early. Number 1. The Vermeer 605. And number 1 is the machine that finally made the world listen. The Vermeer 605 was born from a single conversation. A local cattle producer told Gary Vermeer of Pella, Iowa, that he was getting out of the cattle business. Haymaking was simply too labor-intensive, and he could no longer do it alone. That complaint lit a fire. Gary set out to build what he called a one-person hay system, a baler a single person could run that would multiply what one operator could do in a day. The origin story is the stuff of farm legend. Gary and Vermeer engineer Arnie Mathis chalked out the design on the factory floor and had a prototype ready for field testing in just 45 days. It didn't work at first. They couldn't get the bale to start rolling. Then, as the story goes, Gary grabbed a fence post, threw it into the chamber, and the bale took off. He ordered a batch of long cardboard tubes to solve the starting problem, worked out the fingers to catch the hay, and the design came together. Introduced in 1971, the 605 made bales roughly 7 feet across and 6 feet wide, weighing about a ton, nearly 10 times bigger than what a conventional baler produced. And critically, it used belts to compress the hay into a cylinder, the exact design principle still used in round balers today. This was the first modern round baler. The impact was seismic. It moved haymaking from a manual, crew-dependent core to a mechanized one-person operation. It spawned an entire ecosystem: hay rings, new bond designs, tractor-loader attachments built specifically to handle these giant rolls. By 1975, around 15 companies across the United States and Canada had jumped in to build large round balers of their own. Gary Vermeer, who passed away in 2009, had genuinely revolutionized agriculture. The Roto-Baler dreamed it in 1947. The Vermeer 605 delivered it in 1971, and this time the world was finally ready. That's why it's number 1. If you enjoyed this ride through farm machinery history, let me know in the comments which of these balers surprised you the most and which forgotten machine you think deserved a better fate.